The episode opens in Kobe, Syria, where a woman, an undercover operative, makes a desperate escape. She calls Joe, the head of the Lioness program, explaining that her cover has been blown after someone noticed a small tattoo of a cross. Joe quickly assesses the situation, and with no safe extraction in sight, she makes the gut-wrenching decision to call off the rescue. But the stakes don't end there. Joe orders the building bombed, ensuring no one can escape with critical intelligence. Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into an action-packed TV series called Special Ops Lioness. Buckle up, because this one's a wild ride. Next, we flash back 4 years to Oklahoma City. Here, we meet Cruz, a young woman determined to escape her toxic relationship and find a new purpose. Enlisting in the Marines is her way out, a chance at a fresh start. Her resilience and relentless drive during training quickly make her stand out among her peers. Back in the present, Joe is at Langley, debriefing Donald and Caitlin about the failed operation. Caitlin advises Joe to start fresh with a new recruit. Joe heads home to her husband, Neil, and their daughters, Kate and Charlie. While Neil and Kate greet her with open arms, it's a different story with Charlie, who remains cold towards her mom. It's clear that Joe's constant dedication to her missions has taken a toll on her relationship with her family. Determined to find a new asset, Joe heads to Fort Bragg, where she meets Cruz. Cruz immediately makes an impression, taking down a much larger opponent during training. Joe is impressed, but remains cautious. She knows the gravity of the decision she's about to make. Joe then tells Cruz about a classified mission. Though she doesn't reveal all the details, she makes it clear this is Cruz's chance to really prove herself. To be sure Cruz is the right fit, Joe asks her to strip, checking for tattoos or markings that could jeopardize the mission, just like the one that got her previous asset compromised. With no red flags, it's official. Cruz is the new Lioness. On the plane, Joe briefs Cruz about her target, a dangerous man with ties to high-profile figures. Cruz's mission is to get close to his daughter, Aaliyah, and use that relationship to gather the intel they need. It's a high-risk mission, but Cruz is more than ready to take it on. The mission kicks off when Cruz bumps into Aaliyah at a shopping mall in Kuwait. The two connect almost instantly, and Aaliyah, intrigued by Cruz's charm, invites her out for coffee.
She's in.
Episode 2 kicks off with Joe updating Kathleen on Cruz's progress. Cruz and Aaliyah have been texting, but Joe shifts focus to a harsher test, determining if Cruz can withstand torture if captured. Neil is grappling with the loss of a young patient, and Joe steps in to console him. Their family dynamics are under strain. During a run, Cruz is suddenly blindfolded and subjected to a brutal training simulation. She's waterboarded and interrogated, with her captors demanding to know who she works for. Cruz fights back, refusing to break. Joe eventually reveals it was all a test designed to measure Cruz's resilience. Cruz feels betrayed, but Joe explains it's essential to know how long she can hold out so they can rescue her in time if she's ever captured. When Joe insists on a second round of training, the military team steps in, accusing her of going too far. They call off the exercise, but on the drive home, Joe warns Cruz that enemies won't hold back. The episode ends with Cruz caught in a bar fight, only to be interrupted by a call from Aaliyah. The mission escalates as Aaliyah invites Cruz to Chesapeake, signaling the start of a critical phase. Episode 3 begins with Cruz heading to Chesapeake. Joe preps her for the trip with strict instructions. They'll sweep her phone, never use her Mark's phone, act low-key around Aaliyah's friends, and report any issues by texting "call me to daddy" in her contacts. Kyle, another CIA operative, asks Joe for a few members of her team for a mission. Joe agrees to loan 3 operatives with a strict 48-hour timeline for their return. At Aaliyah's home, security is tight. Cruz's car plate and face are scanned through recognition software, but everything checks out. Aaliyah introduces Cruz to her circle of friends, a tangled web of relationships that Cruz must navigate carefully. Things take a risky turn when Aaliyah notices bruises on Cruz's body while she's in a bikini. Cruz blames a car crash, but Aaliyah insists on calling a doctor. The doctor suspects physical abuse and encourages Cruz to report it, leaving Joe's team in a panic, fearing her cover might be blown. Cruz deftly diffuses the situation by spinning her toxic relationship story, claiming the abuser is already in jail. The doctor drops the issue, and the mission continues. Just barely. Later that night, one of Aaliyah's friends tries to assault Cruz. She fights back with a swift jab, leaving him stunned and wondering if she knows karate. Meanwhile, Kyle and Joe's loaned team successfully complete their mission, securing a prisoner at the border. The next morning, Aaliyah and her fiancé apologize to Cruz and announce they're heading out. Cruz boards a private jet with Aaliyah, her fiancé, and their friends, while Joe's team listens in. The episode ends with Joe tracking the jet's tail number, but Cruz has no idea where they're going. Episode 4 begins in East Hampton, Long Island. Turns out the mystery place they took the jet to was the beach. Joe's team is stationed offshore on a boat, keeping watch on Cruz from a safe distance. Aaliyah opens up to Cruz, admitting she doesn't want to marry her fiancé but feels trapped in her situation. Cruz listens carefully, strengthening her bond with Aaliyah while keeping the mission on track. Joe's team captures a photo of Aaliyah's fiancé, and the discovery shocks everyone. He's a Saudi royal. Joe is left wondering, what's the connection between a Saudi royal and the daughter of a known terrorist? Back home, Joe's daughter Kate is in a car accident with her friends. Neil, working in the OR, is notified that Kate has been brought to the hospital. Her leg is fractured and requires surgery. But the real shock comes after her blood test reveals she's pregnant, at just 14. Later that night, Cruz joins Aaliyah and her friends at a club. Joe, unable to monitor from a distance, goes undercover as a clubber to keep tabs on Cruz. Things take a dark turn when Cruz is roofied by a man who drags her into the woods and attempts to assault her. But Joe swoops in, saving Cruz and delivering a brutal beating to the attacker. Cruz is taken to a safe house to recover. Joe and Kathleen are frustrated with her carelessness, but know it's too late to remove her from the mission. Aaliyah has grown too attached to Cruz for her to be replaced. Kathleen tells Joe they need to talk. She agrees, but mentions she needs to visit her daughter in the hospital after the accident. On their way, Kathleen drops a bombshell. The team Joe loaned to Kyle for an extraction was caught on tape during the mission, with multiple casualties.